Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Starjump Station. I am your host, Grim. With me, as always, is Starlet right below. And over this
Hi.
way is Ender. And down that way is our special guest tonight, Drizztaloth, which just so happens to be um, Ender's wife. But she's here for a special reason, and we're going to get to all that. She's been doing some really cool stuff, Star Citizen related. Um, Real quick though, we like to go, around and kind of ask everyone how their week has been since the last time we were on. But real quick, thank you everybody in chat. Looks like we had some people pop out tonight. I was a little slow this week on getting promotional stuff out with show topics and whatnot through Twitter and everything this week. I usually try to start that around Tuesday or Wednesday. I didn't get to it till today, so I'm a little bit behind. So thanks for everybody for showing up. Quick reminder: if you forgot, we are doing the giveaway. All you have to do, if you haven't followed this channel, is follow the channel, and you're automatically entered into our Elgato Stream Deck giveaway that we'll be doing at the end of this month. So yeah, obviously follow if you enjoy what we do and the content we create. But added bonus: follow the channel, get entered into a contest. What could be better? And we're going to be giving out another one of those away on Ender's channel next month. So more info on that. So real quick, let's start with Starlet. Starlet, how was your week? What have you been up to?
I can't even think of what I've been doing. A whole bunch of work. Oh, okay. So I went to completely Star Citizen unrelated, full body tracking, VR, R18 dance club in the metaverse, whatever that is,
Oh,
in VR. Super fun and just crazy to think that there are all these kids out there doing. It's kind of like they're doing their dance meets online because of COVID lockdowns and things. They've all gotten used to a new world. So
mm-hmm.
it's kind of fun. It's kind of interesting.
Very cool. Real quick, His Divine Shadow, thank you for the 100 biddies. Appreciate it. Big sporter as always. Starlet, let me go ahead and ask you, do we have some video queued up of you doing this? Like
I was
fly
not
on the
doing
wall
any
cam?
uncoordinated dancing. No,
Oh,
no, I don't have any video, but
I've
maybe next
noticed
time.
I've noticed in my 3D communities that I kind of communicate and deal with strange people in, that there's a lot of people in the 3D community creating 3D full body avatars for VR worlds. I noticed a
Yeah,
guy I knew was building, like, you could design your own Halo Spartan suit for VR. I was
right.
just like, oh, it's interesting. So
If Star Citizen did get VR one day, which is probably reasonably likely, if it did get full body tracking, which is probably unlikely, it would be mind blowing. But the immersion from full body tracking, from being able to walk around, being able to sit, being able to lie, being able to do a backflip, it's just
hmm.
crazy. It's
I
mind blowing.
I can go ahead and say that if I were to ever get into that, which is it's definitely possible, I think what you'd see with me is that scene from the Lawnmower Man where he's just suspended via cables in his basement, and it looks like he's been drugged and is passed out.
Yes.
That would be my VR. Yeah.
Access
So
denied.
for all you youngins in the chat, if you haven't seen Lawnmower Man, go check it out. But I'm probably pretty certain that Ender thinks it's one of the worst adaptations ever made. I could be wrong about
It's
that.
not
Ender,
an
how was your week?
adaptation. I'll point out that it is not an adaptation. It just uses the name.
Okay. Even better.
Even Stephen King will tell you
Yes.
that. Um, my week's been pretty good. It was long, but I didn't do a lot of streaming this week. I just was not feeling very streamy. I've been tired, but I think I'm coming out of the funk, so that's good.
Good. And you've brought someone along this episode. Why don't you introduce our special guest, Ender?
The young lady that is below me here, but actually right over there, right now, is my beautiful wife, Drizztaloth. Hi, Driz.
Hi.
And how has your week been?
It's been very busy. There have been lots of children's dental appointments, and then just today I had many different VA appointments that I had to go to. So, been a medically based week.
Nothing wrong with that. Real quick, His Divine Shadow, thank you for gifting that tier 1 sub to Jorn. Jorn's in chat, everyone. Jorn was our guest last week, so thanks for stopping by this week, Jorn. Hope you were well. Hope you had a good week. Had a lot of great feedback on our Capital Ships episode, so again, appreciate you bringing your thoughts and opinions to that. Real quick, everyone, we're going to kind of jump right in. This may be a slightly shorter show than normal, as everyone knows. It's a little bit light in the Star Citizen world in terms of news and stuff. And we sometimes kind of flip-flopped our episodes where we'll have deep dive kind of researched episodes have some work behind them, like our Capital Ship episode last week. And then we have other episodes that are where we're just kind of chit-chatting and having a good time, getting together and stuff. And that's, and we kind of loosely talk about a few topics, smaller things. That's tonight's episode, and it's definitely a chill episode, which is why I'm rocking my License to Chill cup. If you can see that right there. So I'm in full effect.
License even. Awesome.
Yes, got a license to chill. We are going to go over a few things. Real quick, Ender, before we started going into actual kind of front of show business and topic stuff, did you want to talk any charity stuff? Is there any charity update stuff we want to get out of the way and then maybe revisit the end of the show as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Small charity update. So I am starting to plan and brainstorm an idea for March. I would like to do potentially an extended stream or a multi-person extended stream where one person will stream for 5 or 6 hours, another will stream after that, all on the Starjump channel. But for St. Jude, I'm starting to put some stuff together. I would love it if you guys who are in the Discord and who are not in the Discord, if you're not, go here. It'll pop up at some point, maybe. There it goes. Go there, join the Discord, and there's a channel in there called Charity Ideas, I believe. Charity Suggestions. Event Suggestions, that's it. Sorry. Gives any ideas that you have, any thoughts that you have. We would absolutely love your ideas. But I am starting to brainstorm something. Anybody that's interested in working with us on any kind of charity stuff, please reach out in the Discord. We have an area for that. Guardians, Starjump Guardians, and we will absolutely love to work with people.
Yeah.
And that's all I've got.
Yeah, as everyone knows, the charity stuff is another one of the kind of Starjump pillars that we try to, put some effort behind, along with some of our big content shows like Starjump Station and Chronicles and Fleet Viewer and stuff like that. So we do consider the charity thing is one of those pillars. So I think this year, where last year I think our community was just getting started and just getting its feet under it, I think this year we can now finally do some solid focusing on some of those things like the charity endeavors and stuff. You already had a pretty successful, Movember charity push. So this year there's a high likelihood you could be bald all over. So I think we're going to keep pushing and we'll make it happen. Real quick here, a couple top of show announcements. The first one is if you're a fan of Keenan, the Space Tomato, I did an interview with him, or he did an interview with me, earlier today, kind of impromptu. Me and him had been meaning to get together and chat for a long time. If you've watched the Aegis cinematic, if you look on the side of the Kraken, his Garden Interstellar org has a decal on the side of the Kraken. Had a great chat with him. That was for his podcast. I'm not sure when that releases. I think it's Sunday. So when that comes out on Sunday, go check that out. We talk all kinds of cool stuff, Star Citizen related, obviously, but then we talk about a lot of the Starjump stuff going on right now. So it was just a really cool discussion, and he was really great to talk to. So stay tuned for that. Once that's up, we'll make sure we get links out. And then this Sunday as well, our good friends over at Soul Citizens are doing an episode on the Crucible. That should be really interesting. We've lended some of our Crucible visuals that were from our repair episode to them, and obviously want them to have a fantastic episode on the Crucible. They do this series that's on, I guess it's industrial related. They focused on the Endeavor. I think they focused on maybe the Reclaimer and stuff. But either way, they focus on these industrial ships and really kind of deep dive them. So it's a cool discussion. Okay, are we ready to kind of jump into some topics? Hopefully we are. I see we got quite a few people in chat. Big thanks again to His Divine Shadow, gifted another 3 months of Tier 1 to Quinn. So appreciate it. We got a lot of regulars in chat. So big thanks to everyone showing up and hanging out with us tonight. All right, so we talked about Space Tomato. We talked about Soul Citizen shows coming up. Again, good friends. We like to support other content creators. We talked about our charity stuff. We may revisit that later in the show. Let's get into Star Citizen kind of stuff. So the first thing is that we in terms of we don't really have a primary main topic, but we are going to talk about some just brief capital ship discussion, catch up, some monthly report stuff, a little bit of 317. Maybe that leads into a little bit of cargo refactor stuff. These won't be deep dives. These will be just, us talking about it in general terms and having a little bit of light discussion around it. You, of course, can jump into the backstage area for that. Our primary, I guess, main topic tonight, though, is not on a Star Citizen gameplay loop or ship or anything like that, but that is an interview with our lovely Drizztaloth, who has joined us, who is doing some amazing, has just started doing some amazing Star Citizen art. And Starjump obviously started from a creative place with our cinematics. And one of the things I've said at the very beginning, I think on our first episode even, was that we want to support people doing unique and creative things in Star Citizen, things that are a little bit different, and propping those up. So Drizztaloth, not only is she part of the Starjump fam, but it was a perfect person to bring on and talk to with what she has started doing in the Star Citizen community. So we're going to get to that. However, before we get to Driz, we're going to highlight another artist and give you a little bit of a Fleet Viewer update. A lot of the conversation with Space Tomato today had to do with the Fleet Viewer. He's very excited about that. As you all know, I myself and VMXEO are working on visuals for it, and Starlet is handling a lot of the all the back end work on it, and that will be plugged into her amazing Hanger.link site. So again, we're very excited for that. We get a lot of requests for updates when it comes to the Fleet Viewer, and I thought tonight would be a great opportunity to not only give a little bit of a Fleet Viewer update, but show off and kind of prop up one of the artists who is, I would say, the primary collaborator I am working with on this project. That is VMXEO. I've talked at length about him. I believe he's in chat right now. He has done work that has allowed me to do the Starjump cinematics and get them done in a timely fashion. He's allowed me to drop ships in at the last minute, and generally just done a lot of work that has been really helpful, if not critical. In regard to the Fleet Viewer, though, some of his work is critical. There's a lot of ships to get through, and not all ships are created equally. If you've seen some of my previous behind-the-scenes streams and stuff, it's funny because you can have a ship like the MSR be relatively simple, but then something like a little Ranger bike is a total pain in the ass to deal with and get prepped for this thing. So VMXEO has been handling an absolute ton of ships for me that were things that had been putting off because I knew they were going to sort of be a headache. So let's show off some Fleet Viewer update and kind of highlight VMXEO. Switch over to our other view here. Let me find, because I got a lot of stuff here in my queue list. So the first thing here is I'm going to bring up, before we get to the Fleet Viewer update, I was going to pop this image up. This is an example of VMXEO's work. He did this, I believe, in Blender. VM, you can correct me if I'm wrong. His Divine Shadow, thank you for that gifted tier 1 sub. This is a really cool image that VMXEO did of, I'm guessing it's sort of like an Alisar style station that has kind of crashed and whatnot on a moon or planetary surface, which made me think CIG really needs to do this. They need to do a crashed space station on a planetary surface. I think that'd be really, really cool.
That would be cool.
I guess we do know that they're going to do that with the Javelin, though, right? The crashed Javelin is going to become a gameplay area at some point. But yeah, so this is this is an example of his work. But let's go into the Fleet Viewer stuff now. I'm going to show you. So this is a Fleet Viewer update, but we're still highlighting VMXEO. Show you the level of work he has been doing. This stuff is top notch and is some of the coolest ships, actually. So we're going to show like 6 or 7 ships here. The first one is the F7A. This is the F7A, again, from the Fleet Viewer in the isometric view. As you all know, this is a ship that you're going to be able to acquire through playing Squadron 42, the single player campaign, which I personally can't wait to acquire this ship. I actually like this ship better than the F8C and stuff, just from a looks perspective. So I'm really excited to get the F7A. Plague Dealer, thank you for the subscription. Appreciate you hanging out with us tonight and for the support. So that's the F7A. I was really amazed at this. You probably all saw me post the promo image front view. This is the isometric. Next, VM did the F8. I know this is one of Ender's ships he is definitely waiting on. This ship will be acquired through, I believe, completing the single-player campaign in Squadron 42, although I don't know if it gives you the ship or if it just gives you the ability to buy the ship. If I had to bet on how CIG will do it, it'll be the ability to buy the ship.
Yeah,
It checks out.
We'll see.
High level.
Yeah, we'll see.
Reward.
Yeah,
And
I've
you
got to get that much money in there so I can go ahead and get that concierge.
So you do get one of these if you hit a certain level of concierge. I believe it's $10,000. Am I right?
Yeah.
And then you get a gold-plated one with glitter that comes out the back. I think when you've hit what, 20 or 15,000, 20,000?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Starlet says that with slight disdain, which I love. It's kind of like, yeah, that's
Yeah, a $5,000 skin. No, it's not really $5,000 skin. I'm just kidding. But,
yeah, so that's the F8. So we're going to keep going through here because I got quite a few ships to show, and I'm really excited to show them. Some of these have not been seen. The next one is a series that I had really put off for a long time. I've had a lot of people ask me when are these going to show up in a Starjump cinematic. They're going to show up in the RSI cinematic, even though they're not RSI ships. But next is the Freelancer. Thought turned out absolutely amazing. VMXEO outputted the entire series, of course. Regular Freelancer, the Freelancer Dur, which is the exploration variant. And actually, the Freelancer and the Freelancer Dur were 2 of the first ships I ever pledged for in Star Citizen. As a matter of fact, I think I got the regular Freelancer and then I upgraded it to the Dur. Next, but not least, we have the Freelancer Max. Looking great. And then finally, we have the Freelancer Miss, also looking amazing. Again, the Freelancer series is just one of those ships. You think I would have touched it when I was working on the Fleet Viewer and cinematics, and just had never been touched. And then this week, one of the ships I have been really concerned about with the Fleet Viewer is the Banu Defender. The reason is the Banu Defender has some of the most complicated and intricate shaders and texture and like livery paint, paint scheme out of all Star Citizen ships by far. And I was already dreading recreating it because I didn't have access to those files. And I know that's VMXEO has been sort of working on the Defender in the background, and he was able to pump that out for me. So I'm going to show that off here. Really excited about this one. There is the Defender for
That's
the
my
Fleet
future
Viewer.
baby.
Driz is desperately eyeballing a Banu Defender. Really, really cool ship. And one thing I'll say about the Banu Defender is I think it has one of the best, if not the best, flyover sound. Has anyone heard the Banu fly over at like low altitude?
It is amazing.
Yeah, it's one of the coolest ships. I don't own one. Really, really cool. Obviously, you'll be able to buy one. I guess during Alien Week is the next time, unless they have a random sale. I guess Alien Week, and I think Alien Week's the beginning of June, if I'm not mistaken. The other big thing about the Defenders, I'm imagining they're selling a lot of Defenders because people are getting excited that it's got that synergy with the Merchantman, right? We know it's supposed to be able to fit in the hangar rather well.
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
Somebody said get her a BMM to carry it in, and
Yeah,
that'll
of
be
course.
mine. I'm
Yep.
gonna have the BMM that carries it. Also, rude bingo, just rude.
So that's a little bit of a Fleet Viewer update. Again, this is not all the stuff that VMXEO has contributed. He's contributed also the entire Hornet series, which is a massive help. He's contributed the Herald, which is also one of the more difficult ships. But the Defender here, he just did a stellar job on. And, if you're one of those people out there that is really excited about the Fleet Viewer, don't just, thank me for creating these visuals. Definitely make sure you thank VMXEO because they could not get done without him. And then obviously you can direct a lot of your thanks to Starlet because when I hand all this stuff over to her, she's got a big job putting it all together.
Yeah, I'm behind now. You're catching up on us.
It's okay.
Really
It's okay. I'm promising delivery of all the ships in Q1. How long it takes Starlet to get all that built up, I'm going to leave that up to her because I'm not going to speak for her on that stuff.
Oh man.
I'll get it done.
Rough.
But remember, everyone, that we also very likely will be doing probably a version 1 release, obviously. That could be missing things. We don't know. Me and Starlet probably need to strategize on that. But again, we are pushing ahead on that. So again, VMXEO, I see him. He's in chat. Big thank you to him. He's also personally giving me lessons in 3D sometimes when I need them, when I'm being outsmarted by the software. So big thanks to you, buddy. All right, so that was our VMXEO Fleet Viewer update. We got one more thing we're going to do before we go into our Drizztaloth interview. Let's click over. As you all know, I'm pretty darn excited for the Drake Corsair. There was a CIG newsletter that went out today, and for those fellow Corsair fans in there, at the very bottom in the sneak peek image for the newsletter, we really got our first look at the interior of the Drake Corsair, which you're seeing right here. I think it's kind of interesting they showed this image because we actually have not seen anything on the Drake Corsair other than its hollow viewer model pretty much since it was announced. We've seen no updated exterior. We know the ship is undergoing a slight redesign because both Paul Jones and John Crew admitted on the announcement episode for the Corsair that it was not large enough in the back on the backside, and they needed to enlarge some things. But again, this is our very first visual of the Drake Corsair. Hopefully, we're going to start seeing more and more of that pump out. I am fully invested in this ship and believe it's a Q3 ship. Maybe it could come out a little bit earlier, but anyone on the panel have any thoughts about the Drake Corsair?
Does it have a Caterpillar vibe going on? I think it does.
So the Drake Corsair's cockpit is essentially modeled after the Caterpillar cockpit. As a matter of fact, the front top canopy and then that bottom canopy area are exactly ripped from the caterpillar. It does have a slightly more complicated seating arrangement where that back seat there, I think when the person gets in that drops below the floor and then pushes up underneath the pilot. Yeah, oops, let's see, got Space Tomato rating with a party of 51. Thank you, Space. Was just talking about you earlier. Hope you had a great stream. Salute to you.
Thank you.
Like I said, everyone, I had a great talk with Space Tomato today. Keenan interviewed me for his podcast. I believe that podcast comes out on Sunday. That was a lot of fun. Had a great time just talking Star Citizen with him. Me and him had been meaning to catch up for a long time, and he's interested in working with Starjump on some stuff. We're interested in working with him on some stuff, so we'll make sure that happens. Yeah, thanks so much, Space. Appreciate you dropping by. Thanks, everyone from the Space Tomato community. Thanks for dropping by, hanging out with us. We're going to be interviewing Drizztaloth, who's our special guest tonight, who does some amazing Star Citizen painting. And we're going to be going over just some smaller topics tonight, nothing huge. Last episode, we did focus on capital ship gaming, which is that kind of big episode. This episode is going to be on smaller topics. So hopefully you can stick around, hang out with us a little bit. And if you have not followed the channel and you like what Starjump does, give the channel a follow. You're automatically entered into an Elgato Stream Deck giveaway that we're going to do at the end of this month, probably on the very last episode of Starjump Station this month. We'll give this away again. All you got to do is follow the channel. We'll be giving another one of these away on Ender's channel next month. So, stick with us. All right, so Drake Corsair does share the cockpit from the Caterpillar Starlet, and an interesting side note that if you look at early Drake Kraken designs when they were concepting it out, for a long time the Drake Kraken actually used a supersized Caterpillar cockpit until it was eventually changed for the more kind of classic aircraft carrier looking bridge. I think I said cockpit, but bridge. Originally, it was supposed to have almost like a super upsized Caterpillar bridge. But yeah, anyone else got any thoughts on the Corsair? I personally think it's going to be that next meta ship that everyone, gets excited for, a la the MSR, possibly the Redeemer, because it's a ship that's definitely upgunned. It's an explorer, it can carry a vehicle, all that kind of good stuff. Any parting shots on the Corsair before we move on, other than it being one of the best ships in the game?
It would be amazing if CIG would give us some details on exploration when they release this.
I know.
There's so many exploration ships without any detail about what the actual gameplay will be like.
Yeah, and I'm honestly hoping, Starlet, that we start to get more information on that as we go into Pyro. It's our first new system. We know it's not it's not a system that's been completely claimed and everything. I know there's a whole lore and history behind it, but you would hope that Pyro has some interesting opportunity for exploration. So,
Yeah.
and we do know, actually, see, Space Tomato brings it up. We do know that long distance probing was on the progress tracker. Ender, get your mind out of the gutter. This is not that kind of long distance probing. But we know that long distance probing was on the progress tracker, so we don't. It'd be good to get an update on that. What's that, Starlet?
Is that related to VR?
Yes, it's a VR feature.
VR, but it gets real uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's
but the point is right. We heard something about long distance probing, but what are the details that are important to us? What ships can launch these probes? Are they drone size? Are they missile size? Are they additional racks on ships for holding them, or are they just magic? Would love to know some of the finer details, so people can know what they're buying into with exploration ships.
Yeah, that's a great point. I never really thought of it in those terms, but it would be pretty cool if they were more missile sized, and you could load them into missile tubes, and different size missile tubes was a greater strength of, I guess I got to say it again, long distance probe Damn it. So that's all right. My mind's in the gutter. Got to get that out. But regardless, like if you had a size 3 missile rack, then it would be cool to be able to put like a size 3 probe in there. Drizztaloth, get your mind out of gutter.
My bad.
Either way, I like where this conversation is going, and I see a full episode dedicated to probing very soon. You can count on it here at Starjump Station.
Yeah, we talk about aliens quite a bit in our off time, so we might as well do it on the show.
Yes,
too.
absolutely. Absolutely. All right, we are going to go into our kind of main topic for the evening, and that is going to be interviewing Drizztaloth. Actually, Ender, I'm going to hand it over to you. Why don't you do another introduction of Driz and kind of give us, give us a little bit of why she's on the show tonight, and then we can start getting into some questions, and then maybe take any, questions from chat, that may pop up.
First, sacrilege, yes, that will be on our OnlyFans, the probing episode.
Yes.
Guys, so 2 things before I introduce Drizztaloth here. If you want to ask questions directly, Space Tomato has already hit it. Join the Discord. We have a place down at the very bottom called Backstage that will allow you to get pulled into the chat, and you can ask questions directly. We have a few questions already ourselves. And if you have questions, just put them in brackets, question, and then ask your question. I'll be watching the chat as well to pull those, and we'll answer them that way.
And just
as
to
well.
point out, so no one gets a surprise, if you go into the Backstage on Discord, you'll actually be pulled in to the live audio chat, not just text chat.
Yes, it will
Correct.
be live audio. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce the young lady who is below me here, but actually directly to my left, literally 20 feet away, if even, my beautiful wife, who does quite a bit of art and has started doing Star Citizen art. Drizztaloth. Hi, Driz.
Hi.
Whoa.
Hello.
Oh, real quick.
Goodness.
Kelly is gifting 21 Tier 1 subs to the community. Thank you so much. Really appreciate. Kelly is a huge Starjump supporter and moderator and just general great community member that helps us with a lot of things. There's no other way to say it. So thank you so much. Thank you for that support as always. Again, it's community members like that that really reinforce, why we do this. We have a great community from the people that, gift all these subs to the people that just lurk in the channel. We really do appreciate you all. But thank you so much, Kelly. You get a Starjump salute for that. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. So we're with Driz. So Driz, I'm actually going to pop us back over. And we have a little Drizztaloth loop showing off some of your work.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that. Starjump Station, we're the channel of visuals, so we had to do something for you. I didn't want to have you on and not have any visuals for you.
I feel so special.
That would have been an insult. So Ender, we obviously have a list of questions that we want to ask Drizztaloth about. Do we want to just all take one? Do you want to run through them? How do you want to do this?
No, I say we all ask questions.
Okay.
I'll give it a start off and just keep moving through.
Okay.
And you can ask whichever one tickles your fancy. And no particular order has to be gone through.
And I will say, real quick, even before we get into the questions, Ender, that Drizztaloth is someone that even before we got into Star Citizen, me and Ender, she was always in and around the stuff we were doing. She's probably heard Arma 3 conversations and arguments and stuff ad nauseum.
Training.
Yeah, she helped with that training, our MilSim unit. She's always kind of been real life lurking right behind Ender. And I'm personally really excited for her to actually be on the show. And with Star Citizen, I do feel like, and Star Citizen and things like Phasmophobia, which if any of you all have watched some of our streams, we like to play Phasmophobia to de-stress a bit. Drizztaloth is on there, and she's a lot of fun and helps us crack jokes and all that kind of good stuff. So while she's not a formal Starjump host or anything, she's definitely the part of the Starjump inner circle fam. So all right, Ender, back to you.
She's been supporting my endeavors alongside you for more than 10 years now.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
your
nice to
attitude and your smell. She's been
all
putting up with all
three.
that. Yeah.
But it's nice to finally be able to give her some support and have her do something that she very much enjoys, which
Yep.
actually is going to be my first question to you, Driz. Obviously, you do some very amazing art, but I don't think you just do it for one particular reason. Can you tell us, uh, does your art that you do help in other areas of your life?
Yes, actually, it does. I've always found that whether it be drawing or painting, art gives me a feeling of relaxation. When I got out of the military, I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety disorder. And now the anxiety has turned into anxiety with obsessive compulsive tendencies. So my painting allows me to get just a sense, an average feeling of consistency, because once I get into like a zone, so to speak, and just kind of vibing out to music, everything else kind of fades away. So it kind of allows me to relax enough to forget about everything else, the worries, the stress of being a mom, let alone everything else that's going on in the world. It does allow me to find extra happiness that I can have that is just for me, as opposed to having the happiness that, society throws at us and pushes on us, like, oh, you need to be happy for being a mom. Oh, you need to be happy for your kids getting good grades. You need to be happy for your husband succeeding in all his endeavors. It was me being allowed to be happy just for something for me. So it has greatly helped me recently. So I'm glad to be back in it.
That's what I do too sometimes when I'm working on some of these ships. I can equally complain about it because they can be stressful and a pain in the ass to deal with, but I can also, it's very meditative for me. Like texturing, a spaceship or whatever it is I'm doing like that. There's a meditative side to it too.
Yeah,
And
it becomes
yeah,
cathartic.
yeah. And sometimes, obviously I stream some of the behind the scenes on that, but a lot of times I don't, and I'll just do it in isolation with some music playing simply because of that meditative factor. So
It kind of
Exactly.
comes across on your stream as well. It's very chill.
mhm.
Yeah,
It's
I wanted to
almost
add just some chill
addictive
music.
relaxation.
Yeah, it's not. I wanted to make sure that on my stream, it was a place to where not only I could relax, but somebody else who happens to be tuning in while they're working or working on their own art, like Grimm or whatever they're doing, they can also relax and just find some time for themselves.
So is your channel? This is not a pre-approved question, but I'm going to ask it. So would you say your channel is officially, and I'll get this wrong because I'm not with the young kids, an AMSMR channel? Or there's not going to be any like
It's
ear
not an
licking or
official.
anything at any point,
No,
right? Okay.
it's not an ASMR video.
Okay.
There's no whisper tones,
You're
and
not going to
there's
be
no
like
me.
scratching chalkboards or
No,
anything
no,
soon.
there's
Okay.
no
Oh, you're
there's no
really
me
good at that.
squeezing art tubes really slowly. No, there's none of that. It's just me interacting with anybody who happens to be in chat, asking me questions or making me giggle, basically.
Yeah, yeah. It's really cool to see the creative process. It's what's funny is, and not to bring up the behind the scenes stuff again, but I think it's an interesting parallel that like when I work on those, a lot of times it was just to like hang out and allow people to see that kind of the process. And I always say that it's not, sometimes you're seeing how the sausage is made, and it's not always pretty or exciting. As a matter of fact, I probably apologize in my behind the scenes streams 50 times saying this is probably the most boring stream you've ever watched, because I feel like it's pretty boring, but I think people really do enjoy seeing stuff get created.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. All right. Should we start down the question list, Ender?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to take the first one?
Actually, I took the first one with the question that I asked.
Okay. All right, let's see here. So let me bring this tab up here. What's your specific motivation when it comes to Star Citizen art? Let's ask this question this way. What is it about painting spaceships that is interesting over, maybe something else?
That's actually a really good question. I have always been drawn to organic things to draw and paint. So I have always done portraiture, whether it be of animals or of people or landscapes. So when Ender actually came to me and was like, hey, you should start painting again. And then he started playing Star Citizen. I was like, wow, this game is really pretty. There's so much going on. All the colors are really nice. I think I could probably do something like that. I didn't have much faith in myself, but I was just more drawn to, wow, these things are so beautiful. So then came the idea of, well, I'm just gonna see if I can draw it. Let's just see if I can even put it on paper. And so I drew it, and it looked decent, and I was like, oh, okay. And then came the painting portion. I had no faith in myself when it came to the painting portion. I was like, nah, this is going to crash and burn real bad, just like the ship that's on it, like this is going to be horrible. And then I tried, and it came out pretty good. It was more of a personal test to begin with than I'm just going to paint these ships because people like them. It was more of I want to see if I can do it because it's not the typical thing that I would normally draw or paint.
Yeah.
It was more of can I legitimately do it, and can I boost my confidence enough to do it in front of people?
One thing I particularly like about them too, and this is great when you see Star Citizen artwork out there, whether it's something that's like 3D and like meant to be perfect and photoreal, or if it's a screenshot someone takes in game, or machinima, or a painting or something. I love how there can be everyone's unique, you know, aesthetic applied
Yeah.
to the same medium being the Star Citizen in terms of a subject matter. But one thing I really like about your paintings is I love that you keep and I'll put the video back up, is I love that you keep a lot of the natural brush strokes, some of those rough edges and stuff. You clean up really nicely. You give them enough of a cleanup that it feels like a hard surface, ship material, like metal and stuff like that. But you keep it loose enough too that it feels like it came from the hand of an artist. You know what I mean? Which I really dig. Yeah.
I appreciate that. I'll take it as a compliment.
So. Yeah, definitely a compliment. And I think that the people that, there's other people, for example, that do 3D ships just like me, and I'll look at them sometimes and they take a totally different approach than I would, but the stuff is really cool because it's still 3D, but you can tell they did a different technique, and there's a little bit of their own personal touch in there, and that's always really cool. Real quick, since we're talking about Star Citizen artwork like this, we should definitely mention if you're a fan of CIG's concept art, especially their shipped concept art, and you're a big fan of Paul Jones, who's the lead concept artist at CIG. I'm not sure his exact title, but I know he's like the head of the concepting team. He put out a book just recently, and of course I don't have that up because it just came to mind as we were talking here. But he put out a book. You can find that on his Twitter. I think he links to it, and that book is about creating art in the games industry and just creating art commercially. I have not read it yet. I desperately want to, but Paul Jones has been very supportive of what we do and Starjump stuff. So go buy the book if you're interested in that type of thing. Let's go on to the next question. Who wants to ask the next one? Ender, do you have them up?
Yeah.
Cool.
I've got
Why
them
don't
up.
you take the next one here?
How do you define success as an artist?
Ooh, okay. The way that I define success, at least for an artist, is you are able to invoke an emotion in those that are looking at or seeing your art, whether that be a good emotion or a bad emotion, either or. It can work through multiple kinds of artwork, but I think that would define a success. So the way that I will put it into maybe a way that you guys would understand is when Grimm made his cinematics and people could see that their ships were coming to life, the ones that they absolutely loved, the ones that they had purchased, when perhaps one of their ships was getting shot down or one of their ships exploded, they literally had that like heart-wrenching feeling of, oh, my baby, that's my baby. And they hated that part of your cinematic and they were like, oh, why would you do that? Yeah. And they would be like, oh, why would you do that? Why?
Yes.
But it still
Heavy.
it was evoking some sort of emotion. And to me, that is a success, whether it's love, hate, or anything in between. Some sort of emotion is a success.
Yeah. Reese is still calling me out for being a Perseus murderer. Don't worry, Reese. The RSI cinematic will be the place where the Perseus gets its ultimate revenge. We all know that. Let's see here. And Starlet, if you want to ask any of these questions, feel free.
Sure.
They are in the Starjump Station Discord channel or chat channel.
I'll ask one.
Sure.
How do you choose which ships to paint?
I actually don't choose. What I do is I take that back. My first painting, Ender chose for me because he was like, "Hey, a lot of people like this one. Maybe you should start with this." And I was like, "Okay, sure." But from now on, what I'm going to do is allow the people in my Discord, or more specifically, the patrons of my art, decide what ship gets done next. So basically, anybody who has donated to my stream, whether that be $1, $200, $400, whatever the amount, there's a special place in my Discord for patrons, and there they can discuss what ships they would like to see next. So I don't choose; I just have the public choose for me.
I can totally imagine a button on the fleet viewer that says Drizzify, and it sends the person's fleet off to you to get turned into enamel or acrylic.
As Ender knows, there's someone out there that has a plugin for that. Sorry. We'll talk about that another time. I will tell the Starjump community, very often I will run across Starjump materials that people have taken and redone and are claiming as their own work. It does happen. I've seen it. If you've been one of those people that have pointed that out to me, that there's someone stealing artwork, we do appreciate the call outs. So, all right, I'm going to take the next one then. Have you worked as a professional artist before?
I have. When I was a starving college student, just kidding, I wasn't starving. But when I was a college kid and needed extra cash, I would allow friends and family, friends of friends and family, to purchase portraiture. And I didn't charge very much for anything. I think my most expensive painting was, I think, a 24 by 38 or something like that. And I only charged about $200 for it. But those $200 when you're in college means the world. So I would say I was professional in the sense that I did sell for money. But as far as like hosting in a gallery or anything like that, no, haven't done that yet.
Yeah.
maybe someday.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean the art as a profession is always challenging. I know that myself. As an art director, I now in my career oversee artists. So usually my day consists of telling people, um, I don't buy your argument of why it can't be done. I'm asking you to do it. That's generally what I do with my artists that are under me. But it's a challenging profession because anytime you work in a career that's subjective in nature, there's never a black and white path to doing a good job. You know what I mean? One person thinking it's the best thing you've ever created, and the next person could absolutely hate it. So
Yep.
I think that's the big challenge whenever you're doing something creative. You know, there's even with the Starjump cinematics, there's been times where people have criticized some of the work. I've seen criticisms of saying it looks worse than the video game and stuff like that. And you
Yeah,
just have to take
definitely.
that stuff in stride because for every person that doesn't like something or doesn't appreciate the work, there's other people that do, and that's what you kind of always have to remember.
Yep.
Andrew, you want the
Agreed.
next one?
Actually, I'm going to ask a user, a community placed question for this one.
Cool.
From Talisa. Lisa, hi. Are you excited to try watercolor?
I am. I am very excited to try. And super, super nervous. It's a medium that I've never used before, so it's going to be all new to me. I said it before, but I'll say it again. This is going to be just for fun or failure, just for giggles mostly, because it's going to be something that I don't know how it works. I've taken a few classes this past week just to find out how the medium works and the rules about using it. But I would say I am definitely excited, but there is some nervousness also mixed in.
Yeah. You never know. You might find a new medium, ignites or reveals some new skills that you didn't
That's
even
true.
realize you had.
Yep.
I again just using my own thing as a parallel in the discussion, like 3D was not what I started out in. I started off as a 2D designer and did everything in 2D flat everything, and that was my career for probably the first half. And then I ended up landing a job that required 3D, and I was like, oh, I don't know 3D, but I'm going to learn it. And I lied to them, told them I knew it, and somehow got through the job. Luckily, the job got canceled and never saw the light of day. But it was sort of like a learn, by the seat of my pants, thrown into the deep end sort of situation. But what I learned, what I learned though from it was that I actually had a talent for it, and sometimes you don't know that until you just dive in.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
And I actually think it'd be interesting to see Star Citizen stuff in watercolor because you don't see that very often and just at all. Um, Driz is actually already in debt as an artist because she owes me a Kraken painting that is the smallest Kraken painting ever painted. We're hoping
big.
it's about that big. That will be on the wall behind me. You won't be able to see it, of course, but it'll be back there. Let's do another question. Andrew, you want to grab another one?
Yeah. We talked about whether or not you are excited to do watercolor. What is your favorite medium to paint in?
I like acrylic. It's something that I've always enjoyed working with for two reasons. One is it dries quickly, so I don't have to always worry about. I'm a lefty, so I don't always have to worry about getting paint smeared up and down my forearm as I drag my hand across the painting. The other is that I can add different mixtures in to make the paint last longer so that it doesn't dry out so quickly. And I also like that it's actually a little harder to create gradients with acrylic because they dry so quickly. So, to me, it creates a little bit more of a a little bit more of a task as well as a challenge to create a smooth variation between dark to light or light to dark in the painting. And it gives me something to test myself with to see if I can do it in the time that the paint allows me to. So I prefer acrylic. I probably won't ever use oil just because between the time that it takes to finish a painting to the time that it takes for it to dry, it could be close to 6 months, if not 8 months or more, depending on the thickness of the paint. So I probably won't ever go the route of oils just because it will take forever. But there's always the chance that I could make some nice, pretty watercolors if this goes well.
Important pro tip for those wondering about the importance of paint drying fast. I one time had a UFO model that was the Bob Lazar UFO plastic model. They're very hard to find. I spent about $300 for this plastic model kit and saved it for years, never put it together and painted it. But I finally, one day on a crisp, clear day in the fall, I said, the hell with it. I'm going to put this thing together. I'm going to paint it. I took it outside and I painted it all beautifully. It was a gorgeous reflective chrome because that's what it was supposed to be. And little did I know that leaving it outside to dry would be the worst mistake ever. As I came back out, and apparently a family of squirrels had tap danced all over it. There were squirrel footprints all in the silver paint. Ruined the model and ruined the paint job. So,
That's so
pro tip.
unfortunate.
But those squirrels went home dressed up.
Yes. That actually does lead me, though, to another question I had for you, Driz. I know we had a question from Lisa come in. We'll get to that in just a second. Real quick for you. Would you ever be interested in painting like one of the JDRF models, the actual like 3D printed ship models?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I've been contacted by somebody to do that as a tester for them. So hopefully I'll get to do that in the future. And it will be a fairly large model. So
very cool.
Kind of looking forward to that and seeing how cool it will look at the end.
Absolutely. And there's definitely some Starjump collaborators / community members that are very tied in with the JDRF crew and are actually working with them. I won't say much more than that. I'll get in trouble, but we do have some close people with them. So we'll have to see if we can make something happen. That'd be really cool to see. What's the next question we got?
Sorry, laughing at Reese, who said, I have a bunch of minis that need painting.
Driz is going to need a pricing structure up on our website.
So the Lisa asks, does it make it more difficult to be a left-handed artist? Do you tend to smear more because of your hand orientation?
Ooh, okay, I do. I smear a lot because, so I'll have to lift up my hand so you guys can see. Have you guys ever seen the lefties who like completely warp and wrap their arm around either their writing or their drawing or whatever just to make sure that it doesn't smear? I'm not that person. I'm not that skilled and I'm not that flexible. I don't do that. That's not going to happen. So when I draw the typical left to right, and my hand smears across the entire thing. So usually when I do
that's
a
just
drawing,
called motion blur. Don't worry, that's just called motion blur. Bradley, thank you thank you for subscribing for 3 months. Really appreciate that support. Sorry, Driz, keep going.
That's okay. I usually just keep extra erasers nearby. For the Saber Raven, I went through an entire eraser to erase all of my smudges from the canvas before I started painting it. So yes, it's just something that I personally deal with. I'm sure there are other lefties out there who do the whole workaround thing that I'm not dealing with that. So I'm just going to work the way I work, and it's been working for me so far. So I'm just going to, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know? It's working okay.
Absolutely. Like your, and I won't call it a handicap at all, but your left-handedness, I actually have the same sort of challenges with what I do because I am severely colorblind.
Yep.
As Ender, I'm sure well knows, I am very colorblind
Oh,
to the
yeah.
point of when people say, "Well, what colors are you colorblind with?" I'm like, all of them actually.
Right.
So you're good.
Yes, he
Um,
just answers with yes now. Like, can you see this? No.
and before we go on, I will Starlet, you can get the next question, but let me jump in on one real quick here, specifically that popped up in chat, which is the considering. Have you ever considered digital medium for your art? And will Ender not let you have a Wacom? I'm going to add on to that for real quick. If you've ever been interested in that, like using Photoshop and stuff to paint digitally, I have several Wacom tablets that are sitting in boxes that are not used that you could have.
I appreciate the offer, but it's not for me. I did it in college. I had many.
It's hard.
Yeah, I had many Photoshop, and I think there was one. It was called like Vector or something like that. It was some other 3D rendering something. It's not for me. I prefer pieces of paper and canvas and paint and
Yeah.
all that. It's just I'm a
It's a
fine art kind of gal, and
Yeah, it's
I'm
a
probably
different
always
type
going
of
to be
thing.
that way. Yeah,
Cool.
for sure.
Starlet, you want to grab another question?
Sure. Did you study art at school?
I did. I went to college twice. My first time I went to Arizona State University for art education. Coming out of high school, my art teacher influenced me the most. So I was like, I want to be just like him. So I went to school to become an art teacher. And the biggest part of that, at least when you're an undergraduate, is learning art, the basics of art, the fundamentals of art. So I made it through 2 years of art education. And then once I realized that my art was being graded by graduates who literally only had 2 more years of school than I did, I thought it was absolutely bogus. I was like, how dare these kids who barely know more than I do give me a grade from what I think is art? Because in my opinion, art can't be graded. It is what it is. It's supposed to be, made. So I kind of got fed up with the whole college thing, and I decided to drop out. And then a year later, I went to the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in Los Angeles, and basically learned everything that nobody ever wanted to know about textiles, sewing, and fashion design. And a year after that, I was like, there's no way that I'm going to be making enough money to afford the student loan that I'm accruing. So I decided I'm going to quit while I'm ahead and also quit that. So I do have some schooling under my belt, but due to all of the student loans, I just joined the Navy and had Uncle Sam pay them all off. So I do have some formal schooling, but not a full degree.
Added
Cool.
benefit. Cool. Well, let's keep on trucking here. Let's see here. How are you cultivating your audience? Obviously, one thing that we've dealt with here at Starjump is we're kind of a newer community. We started last year, and it's always a challenge to think of new content and continuously pump new stuff out to sort of cultivate an audience, build a crowd, get followers and stuff. Um, you've been streaming for a little bit now, showing that process on 2 paintings. How has been the support? How are you, continuing to grow that? But I guess the main part of the question being how has that support been, um, in terms of building an audience?
Oh my, it has been wonderful. Um, not just the Starjump community, but the Star Citizen community has been so nice because when I first started, I'll put it this way. Before I even started, I had people who were cheering for me and rooting for me to stream and to succeed. And when I did my first stream is when that really showed how much love there is and how much support there was going to be for me to even put myself out there, to even try. So, and the base that I have is such a strong knit group of people that when I do stream, there are inside jokes being thrown. There's some shade thrown in Ender's direction, but it's such a fun and comfortable, relaxing group that I feel so grateful for. So I honestly have to say thank you to you guys in the Starjump community, as well as part of Starjump, for helping me get a good base going, because you guys literally put my name out there on blast to other streamers, to all of the different groups and communities that you're a part of. So I wanted to take the time to thank you guys for helping me get to where I am now. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, we've had the same thing happen with us too. And when I first put the first cinematic out, the Drake one, I think if I remember correctly, I think the Starjump YouTube had 6 subscribers. Only 6. And the night I launched the Drake cinematic, I think it was like 6. And through people like DG360, who we don't talk about much anymore, but he's still out there doing stuff. Execute over Info Runners. Starlet's done work in the past with the Info Runners. People like Montoya from Test Squadron. Mud Dog from Texas Space Navy. Sometimes you want to be careful not to forget anyone, but those people that didn't know me from Adam, were willing to prop up our stuff and say great things about us and start sharing it. And then, shortly after, the Yacht Club started highlighting us, and again, it just starts to snowball, and you start to make friends and make those connections, and it's really great. I definitely agree with some of the people that have said this in chat. That and yeah, Joran, you're right. Everybody starts somewhere, absolutely. But the Star Citizen community is definitely a unique community in that they're very, very supportive. One of the things we highlighted last week when Joran was on was Bar Citizen, and how it's this community led, not just a developer convention, but it's almost like these little miniature fan made only worldwide get togethers to support this community. And that's, I think, really, really unique and really cool. And I think all of us, whether it's you and your paintings or Starjump and what we're doing, seeping off of that a little bit and whatnot to in order to grow is really, really cool. And the same, I think we would do that for anyone who was kind of part of the Starjump community and was doing something cool and wanted that support. We're always willing to take a look and do what we can to kind of help support that in a fair way. Yeah. I'll jump into the next one, and I think the next one we have 2 sort of questions here. Actually, Ender, do we have another question from Lisa?
We do have another question
let's hit that
from
one first.
Lisa. Are there any other mediums you have been interested to try? In other words, watercolor.
Besides acrylic and watercolor, I'm not quite sure. I know I have tried, it's called gouache. I've tried gouache in the past. It's been a very long time since I've used it. It's like a mix between a watercolor and an acrylic. It has bits of each to make its own little thing. I could use that. But I kind of like where my little niche of acrylic is right now. It's something that I'm used to. I know how it works. I can work it well, and it can turn out so wonderful. So for right now, I think I'm going to stick to what I'm good at, but I'm not opposed to definitely trying different mediums in the future.
I have a suggestion that I think would really elevate your work. and bring it from where it's at
Oh yeah.
to where it needs to be. Have you ever considered various types of uncooked noodles, like macaroni and other mediums like that? I personally, for one, would love to see a macaroni kraken. I'm just saying. I'm just going to put it out
Mixed
there.
media is what you're saying? You
Mixed
want a
media,
mixed media
yes,
kind of feel going on?
with dry pasta. Yes, that if you once you get around to that, obviously we will hype you up in a bigger way than we're doing right now. So you consider that. You take that back with you and consider it.
100%. I'll add in. I'll put hot glue on there too. Add a
Yeah,
little bit of
and
hot glue in there.
leave all the gnarly strings of hot glue if you
Oh,
would. That'd be good.
100%.
See, that would accurately represent the structure and
Oh,
rigor of the Kraken.
and then Starlet has to throw in a Drake dig just to get one in per episode, even after I show off the Corsair's interior in all its glory.
My work is done.
Well played.
Well, it'd be
Star.
funny if at this point Starlet's like slowly closes her camera cap, and that's it. That's all you see of her.
Mic drop. The deed is done.
Yes. So let's get into sort of the final question, and there's two questions remaining, but I feel like they're in the same kind of ballpark, so we'll kind of ask them together. And I think this is always a little bit of a sensitive question when it comes to art. Sometimes it's hard to answer. Again, it's something that's based off of subjective, work. I've dealt with this myself, but I guess the first part of the question is, do you plan on selling your art? And then the complicated part is what factors, influence, what a piece of art would be priced at, versus what's fair. But then at the same time, maybe, what makes it worth your time? Because this is an investment of time and effort in an already busy life. You're a mom with kids and, 2 kids and then a third kid and Ender, and you've got to take care of them all. And, I'm curious, how do you judge what price point is sort of worth it?
So I do plan on selling them. As a matter of fact, I have sold my arrow. And how I will be selling them is I'm going to be holding auctions for my paintings, because I think that's the fairest way, as opposed to me picking and choosing who gets a painting. And I don't want to be accused of being unfair if somebody can't see, somebody who possibly DMs me and goes, "Hey, I want that painting," before it's even done. There's no way to know who contacted who first. So to rule that component out of it completely, I think an auction is the best way to do it, because everybody can see who's bidding for how much and who's going to win it. It makes it fair, and it's across the board just easier. And then as far as pricing goes, the way that I'm basing it off of is literally just cost of materials plus a flat fee, and per hour, and the flat fee is only $10.50 an hour. So it all depends basically on how big the painting is, because the bigger the painting is going to be more man hours put into making sure that painting is done and looks good. So something that's on the smaller side will be around, $250 to $400 depending on size, whereas something that's going to be huge and is going to have, multiple ships is going to be thousands of dollars. And what I think people have to understand, because people see, thousands of dollars on a price tag and they go, "Oh God, nobody's going to buy that," is that this is hours of my life that I've put into making this something that's beautiful, that's something that somebody's going to proudly hang, in their home, in their office, somewhere. Yep. So I think it would be a discredit to undersell my paintings, because it's not only my work, but it's all these people who put into, making these ships. Like there are people who created these designs. I'm just recreating it onto canvas. So I don't want to undersell it. So it's just literally a flat fee of $10.50 an hour, which I think is a pretty low price per hour, plus cost of materials. So that's how they're priced.
Yeah. Real quick here, I wanted to highlight, we're talking about people doing creative, artistic things in Star Citizen. We highlighted VMXEO at the beginning of the show. We're talking with Drizztaloth right now. But also right now in chat, we have Good Games, who just said hello. If you do not know who Good Games is, you really should. They create some of the best Star Citizen machinima out there. It's really, really amazing stuff. Their new one New Year's Eve at Jumptown video is amazing. I'm actually going to put the link in there. Definitely make sure you stop by Good Games' YouTube channel and check out that video, and also just follow their work and stuff, because they do some really, really top notch stuff. The Jumptown video is especially good. But they've just done a ton of good stuff over the time, the last year especially. We've actually sort of cross supported each other, which has been really cool as well. I think we posted on our community one of their videos, and they did the same for us. So Good Games, thanks for stopping by. Hope you are well. But yes, I agree. Witchbase, the Jumptown video has some amazing visuals and editing, and some of the people in our chat, and Ender especially, knows how difficult it is to get really good shots within Star Citizen for machinima. So big hats off again. This is a great episode because we're kind of celebrating the creative people in our communities, which is really cool.
Absolutely. There was a question from Season Star that I think is probably one of the most asked questions I've seen for you. So it's not going to be surprising for you, Driz. But they say, funny, you don't look Drowish. What's the story behind the name?
So when I was younger, I was in about middle school. I got really big into D&D, and I started reading the Drizztaloth books and fell in love with his character. And then from that, I took my two nerddoms of D&D and Lord of the Rings and kind of mashed them together and got put Drizzt and Lothlorien together, so it became Drizztaloth. So that's where I got my nerd name.
I'm excited that we're announcing on the show tonight your name change to the new one you picked out. I'm pretty excited. I'll go ahead and announce it to everyone. She's going to be going with Randy, and
Randy!
We're pretty excited about it. So stay tuned for that. Cool. I think so. I guess we've went through all of our questions for Drizztaloth. I guess the thing that I would like to say is that obviously keep doing what you're doing and keep pushing. Obviously, any sort of collaborations that you independently can do with Starjump, and then hopefully the wider community and maybe even other content creators, I think would be really cool. And I think everyone in the chat, just like us here at Starjump, want to celebrate people doing unique things in Star Citizen. Ender will tell you that when I first started doing Starjump stuff, and then later Starlet came on and stuff like that, the number one goal, the number one milestone that we set and we always talked about was, if we're going to do something, let's do it slightly differently or slightly uniquely or have a unique approach to it or whatever. And same thing as when, I was talking to Starlet about, the Fleet Viewer idea, and she was showing Hanger Link and stuff. Again, it was easy to go to Ender and be like, she's doing some really cool stuff. We need to have her a part of this. And, who knows? There may be more people, they're eventually a part of the core Starjump team. Again, the idea is we want to highlight people that are doing really cool and unique stuff. So I think you're doing really cool stuff, Driz. So keep it up. And we're glad you could hang out with us tonight. Anything else we have for Driz before we're going to move on to some Star Citizen 317 stuff?
I'm just going to shout her out one more time.
Yes.
And if you guys like the art that Grim has been showing and may show again,
yep, putting it up now.
Check her out. She does stream. She'll be streaming tomorrow. Right there. Give her a follow. She will have a YouTube. I'm just waiting on music from her. Maybe sometime in the near future, she'll get that to me.
Oh yeah. Oops, forgot.
I'll have a video for her up on her YouTube. But yeah, she's doing some really cool stuff, and I'm really proud of everything she's been doing. So
Very cool.
that's all I've got.
All right, so let's go ahead and keep on trudging. So we have a couple things sort of on the docket that we can talk about. Again, nothing like our last episode where there was just like a deep dive technical conversation on a particular thing. We're going to kind of hit a few smaller things. I put a post out on our Discord that was, if you had any follow-up questions on our capital ship topic from last week, feel free to post them. And there was some discussion on the back end of whether we would actually cover those questions on this episode or not. We might pick a few of those out to chat about if we have time at the end of this episode. If not, we'll pick those up next episode. Regardless, one thing I did want to cover is we finally, after the prolonged, holiday break for CIG, we finally got our first bit of news on Wednesday, and that was the Squadron 42 and Star Citizen monthly reports. I was just going to talk about a few of the monthly report highlights for Star Citizen. Again, if anyone on the panel here wants to interject and talk about anything that I bring up here, feel free. Otherwise, we'll just kind of run on through it. But a couple of things I thought were very interesting was the UK, the ship team in the UK progressed well through the MISC Hull A. We know the MISC Hull A is scheduled for 317. They brought the interior up to final art stage, landing gears, and this was the key thing that stuck out. The extending cargo mechanism were completed and ready and handed over to Tech Art. So the one thing I thought was interesting about that is I think there has been a lot of discussion about whether the whole series ships would launch with their mechanized opening and closing arms. This makes it sound like they're going to launch with that functionality. This isn't confirmed or anything, but the fact that they've been working on the extended cargo mechanism and they named that along with landing gears makes me feel like maybe that functionality will come on board with the ships. So I thought that was pretty interesting. That would obviously, I imagine, is going to affect the Hull C and ships like that. As a matter of fact, I can throw up the Hull C real quick. You can see its arms there. I think that it would be cool if they launched the whole series with some of that functionality so that it's not a ship that is launched right out the gate with, again, stunted functionality. We already know how, people still are bothered that the Carrack's, antennas don't fold out and its armored shutter doesn't come down. So hopefully the whole series can launch with a lot of its features. Flare Brass, thank you for the subscription. Appreciate the support.
And I think maybe we should avoid talking about or mentioning the arms of the Reclaimer.
Yes, exactly. That's another great example. The Hull C that we're seeing here moved through the pipeline and is currently approaching its gray box review. Work throughout December included converting materials to hard surface shaders. This is something they've been saying for months now, so I imagine that was a pretty big conversion. They added control panels throughout the ship and refining the pilot seat for optimal visibility. Those are sort of new quality of life things that we know they're doing the ships now, so it's no surprise that the Hull C is getting those passes done. The Hull C was mostly done and has been done for a couple years now, but it's been sitting on ice, so we all knew they were going to have to kind of return to it and kind of bring it up to standard. And by the way, the Hull C that you're seeing here is the one from the Fleet Viewer. Next bit of note here. Throughout November, the RSI Scorpius moved through the white box phase before gray box works commenced in December. Most of the exterior was completed by end of year, including the wings, thrusters, landing gear, and canopy. I know this is a ship that Ender's pretty excited for. The Scorpius is also scheduled for 317, so honestly, it may not be too long before we see Scorpius or Hull A start to appear on, PTU and stuff. I don't think it's going to be tomorrow or anything, but we know those ships are coming down the pipe. what else do we have here? All new vehicle progressed through white box, while the Banu Merchantman progressed towards gray box. I thought that was particularly interesting, saying that the Merchantman was moving from that white box phase and sort of marching towards gray box. Generally, ships, I feel like nowadays ships don't push into gray box unless they are going full on production with them and like aiming to finish out their production cycle and get them in the game. I know there's been previous ships or Squadron 42 specific ships that they have taken into gray box and then kind of paused on. But I think it is pretty interesting that this is. See, yes, Ender, that's fine. Up to you. But I think I think that it was interesting though that the Merchantman has been confirmed to kind of be pushing into gray box. So that was pretty interesting. Tents and hollow viewers are being worked on as well. I'm not totally sure what that means. I'm not sure if that means hollow viewer inside ships or hollow viewers inside, um, convention halls and stuff. But I thought that stuck out. They talked about the Drake Vulture interior reaching final art. If you're a Star Citizen subscriber, you can go to the subscriber vault. They have a bunch of new pictures now of the Drake Vulture's interior. Looks really cool. This is definitely a prospector level ship. Let's see.
I think Chris is going to log out. So just want to
Yeah, that's fine. Driz is going to be heading out. That is fine and understandable. She probably doesn't want to hang out with us anymore. We won't take that to heart. But Driz, thank you so much for coming on board and hanging out with us for a bit.
Thank you guys for letting me.
Cool. All right, everyone. Don't forget to go, follow Driz over on Twitch and keep track of what she's doing. She's doing some great stuff. Cool. All right, I'm going to turn her off, and she's gone. So the Drake Vulture, again, progressing really well. Drake Vulture currently scheduled for 318. And then, as we mentioned up at the front of the show with that the Drake Corsair interior picture, they confirmed the Drake Corsair is moving into gray box, and art was finalized for the cockpit and mess hall, which is probably why we're seeing that. That's really exciting. So definitely some new Drake ships moving through the line. I think that will mean that the only Drake ship that, once those two come out, the only Drake ship not in a flight-ready status will be the Kraken and Kraken Privateer. One other thing from the Star Citizen Monthly Report I thought was rather interesting, and Ender and Starlet, I was kind of curious your thoughts on it, was they talked about work on jump points and how they were looking at dealing with bad exits on jump points, whether that's leaving the jump point in a bad way, maybe getting kicked out halfway through the journey through the jump point, and generally trying to make jump points dangerous and kind of a gameplay challenge. I guess I wanted to ask both of you what you thought of that and what you think would be interesting in terms of a gameplay standpoint for jump points to sort of be these dangerous things that we have to deal with.
That kind of raised more questions than it answered for me.
Yeah.
What happens when your ship is stuck halfway between two systems? How do you get to it? Do you fly through the jump point again and tow it out or something?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, how does it even work? I have no idea. Perhaps there's some ancient lore about it, but yeah, no clue. Really no clue. Sounds fun though.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're going to have to carefully navigate these, and it sounds like perhaps larger ships will have more trouble with that if the jump point is on the smaller side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I wonder if maybe that is part of what they're going through. Are they discussing how punishing should it be? If you go out there and you fall out, how screwed are you? If you're in an era, you're pretty screwed.
I can imagine that you can somehow get back into the jump pipe somehow with some sort of mini game.
Yeah,
that's all I can think of, really.
Well, it's led me to think that. So is that and when they talked about the jump tunnels in previous videos, they talked about getting kicked out mid-tunnel, and you would be left with a severely damaged ship and kind of left out in the abyss, and that kind of got me to thinking. We have Stanton as a system, and we're going to have Pyro as a system. Does that also mean we're going to have that space within systems? And
I think so,
I don't know
because
if
there's
that's
a
ever been
only
really
coordinate
clarified, has it?
system. Well, there's a coordinate system, the 64-bit coordinate system for every solar system, and you're jumping between them. I don't imagine you're stuck on the edge of Stanton or the edge of Pyro. Perhaps it's the case, but
Yeah.
I could just as easily imagine that you're somewhere else.
I almost wonder if they would do it in order to just sort of get past the realistic distance implications of it and just do like, if you do get kicked out, you sort of end up in just this procedural,
As
space
Chad said,
abyss. And then, like
it's
you
the old
said,
lift space
yeah,
from the older.
yeah. And then, like you said, you then have to kind of re-find the jump
Yeah,
tunnel
repair
and re-enter it.
your drive with your tools on board, and if you don't have them, you're absolutely stuffed or something like that.
Yeah. And what's the in-game scenario there for a ship that is ultimately stuck with no one to come rescue them? Has there ever been any discussion about that? Is it just self-destruction, or especially
Insurance.
if you're kicked out of a tunnel like that?
Insurance.
And sure,
Who knows?
yeah, I think you might be right. I just think it's interesting that they're talking about that. We know that there were some discussions early on about when Pyro releases, would server meshing be ready, and should they just release Pyro on a different server? We now know they're holding off Pyro for the first tier of server meshing. So I would hope at some point this year we're going to hear more about what is that in between systems? Can you even get kicked out of those tunnels? Me and Space Tomato were talking earlier today about jump points or jump gates, and are jump gates even a thing anymore? Because now CIG seems to be leaning on the idea of these natural jump points that are these natural phenomenon. When before in the previous demo, they showed us the actual jump gates. I personally would like to. I'd like there to still be jump gates out in the verse. Maybe the jump gates stabilize certain natural jump points. But suffice it to say, it's been a while since we've had a real clear update on jump points and jumping from system to system. Obviously, leading into Pyro, though, I'm sure we're going to get a full kind of debrief on that.
I'd like to see jump gates that were attached to reputation that had
Mm.
defense systems on them. So you have to have good rep to go through them safely, or prepare to be fired upon.
Or even be able to like locate and lock onto them. So, for example, if there's a known pirate route that's a pirate based jump point, but you have to have reputation with a pirate org in order to be able to kind of get that location, target it, and jump through it. That'd be really cool.
So many unknowns because they seem to be rewriting the rules on how jump gates work. So
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
yeah.
Let's go into real quick. I did want to talk a little bit about patch 317, which is the next patch kind of on the release view. That's going to be our Q1 2022 patch. I'm going to read through what's currently listed on the docket for the patch. And then I think this will kind of lead into a little bit of a mini discussion on, I think, what is going to be one of the next kind of big things in the game, a la medical system or personal inventory and stuff. So one cool feature that I think people shouldn't forget about, because I think this will be every new player to Star Citizen's intro into the game, is that we are getting the DNA head textures update. So let me go and read it. This will be implementing art updates for DNA archetype heads that will improve the quality of all heads, both for player and common NPCs. That's pretty exciting. I hope that includes some of the new hair tech they've talked about in the past. That would be really cool. They're adding the Lorville Hospital Maria Pure of Heart. That'll be another big one. In the gameplay category, we're getting the Hanger Management app. So that'll be a mobiGlas app that allows you to manage your personal and persistent hanger. as well as we'll be getting persistent hangers. Your persistent hangers will be, here's the description for that. Players will have the ability to have their own persistent hangers. This will bring changes to the cargo gameplay loop by allowing players to buy cargo, send it to their hangars, then maximize their cargo storage space by allowing them to pack the goods themselves. Okay, this coincides a little bit with the cargo refactor, but that's not till 3.18. So 3.17, so we're going to sort of get our locations for that via the persistent hanger and the persistent hanger management app. And then in 3.18, when the cargo refactor comes online, we will get, the actual cargo to load. We're going to be getting mining gadgets. The gadgets you kind of exit your little prospector EVA up to the rock and set your mining gadget. We'll be getting ship-to-ship refueling with the MISC Starfare. We're going to be getting selling items to shops, our kind of first iteration of that. That's going to be pretty big. So things you loot from boxes, you're now going to be able to sell at kiosks. We're going to be getting NPC taxi missions tier 0. Some interest in this, especially for people that, own things like 600 eyes and probably 400 eyes and 890 jumps and stuff. I think a lot of people have been waiting for those taxi missions, ferry people from one place to another. We'll be getting our first iteration of those. It'll be interesting to see what those are going to be like. Hopefully they're engaging and interesting. We're going to be getting the player interaction experience, which will be, let me read this description too. The player interaction experience is a holistic array of complementary features and systems, all directly related to the player. So player status, item status, environment status, as well as interactions with both the game world and objects within it are covered. So what we can expect here is probably new ways to interact with inner thought and all that kind of stuff. And then last but not least, the 2 ships currently on the docket are the RSI Scorpius and the MISC Hull A. So what I wanted to ask, the 2 other hosts here, Starlet and Ender, about specifically was persistent hangers and their relation to the cargo refactor. And we don't have to go super deep on this because I think we'll do a full episode on this once we get a bit more detail from CIG. But I really look at the cargo refactor and these hangers as being kind of another one of those, slowed down systems coming into the game, a la medical, personal inventory, all that stuff. They're these logistical systems that are coming online that are, in effect, going to slow the game down. And one of the questions that Space Tomato asked me today, and I wanted to ask you too, do you think that slowing down of the game and that the more systems like this that are added, they're going to slow the game down? Do you think that's going to cause any loss in the player base, or do you think people are really going to gravitate to these new systems? Because it's going to be a big difference between hitting load my ship button and then manually loading all your cargo. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I think I don't think we'll have to manually load our cargo, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I would be surprised if that's the case. I think they'll allow us to optionally do that. I think they'll allow us to store some cargo in our hangars if we wish, but I think they'll just add a timer. So when you go to buy cargo, you could probably load it to your hangar or to your ship, and it'll have a countdown as to how long that takes.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be quite as impactful as medical was in slowing us down beyond just waiting for a timer.
Mm-hmm. So sort of like the refinery decks where you're going to set up essentially a work order, and that,
Exactly.
obviously you'll be able to do it manually, but that work order is essentially NPCs doing the job, right?
Yeah. People speculate that loading a Hully is going to take absolutely forever and take a whole org, and it's going to be an absolute logistical nightmare. I just don't think it's going to end up that way. I just think it's an option. You could choose to do that, but people won't. People will go to big ports that have all those facilities that just load the cargo. There's a timer. Maybe there's even some animations of drones outside or something outside doing the work. It won't be a player thing. It seems a bit monotonous and unfun. So
yeah,
the game needs to be fun.
I mean, one of the visuals showing here is a discussion we've had multiple times in the past where you take a ship, even like the Hull C, carrying its 32 SCU standard cargo boxes, And that right there, that box you see on screen right now is a 32 SCU box. Multiplied by 144 of those gives you your 4,608 SCU of cargo on the hull C. Right now they're talking persistent hangars to do this, but I don't know. What do you think, Ender? Do you think there would be a benefit to loading the cargo yourself manually versus using some sort of automatic system? I mean, I think it's interesting that one of the things they say in the persistent hanger description is they say, um, maximize your cargo storage space by allowing them to pack the goods themselves, almost insinuating that, hey, your ship may carry 32 SCU, or let's say 500 SCU, but if you did it manually, you could probably squeeze 600 in there, maybe not safely. Is that what you're kind of gathering?
Yeah, I think what we're looking at is kind of. I think they're allowing people. Allowing is probably not the best word, but they're allowing people the ability to do what they do every time a new ship comes out. Can it fit?
Yeah.
And they're saying, yeah, you can fit 32 SCU in here, or you can try to fit, 60 SCU in there and really pack it to the rafters.
Yeah.
We see the way that it is done by the AI, as it were, when it's stacked, and there's room to walk around and room to move around the whole area using, let's say, the MSR as a example, and then there is filling that room with even more stuff. So I think that's what they're saying here is, yeah, you could let us do it, or you could do it yourself and probably fit more because we got a lot of Tetris players here
Right. Yeah.
who will Tetris it in. So.
Yeah. And that almost kind of becomes, it's funny you say that, almost sort of loading a ship and loading it efficiently, or being that person that knows how to get, 300 SCU into a freelancer or whatever. I wouldn't be that, but you know what I'm saying? Like, there almost becomes an emergent gameplay of being like the best loader, you know what I mean? But going back to you, Starlet, I do agree that, I don't know if the game is totally ready for full on manual loading beyond just using your tractor beam, because one of the gameplay systems we're still missing, even though it's been on the release view several times and continuously pushed back, is ramp and elevator terrain mapping for ships. I mean, so many times now, even in a hangar with a flat surface, it's hard to get your ramps and elevators to perfectly hit. I can only imagine trying to load a ship like that would be absolutely arduous.
Yeah.
And makes me wonder if we're quite ready for that. We don't have, beyond the handheld tractor beam, we don't have anything in the way of forklifts or anything like that to load ships. We don't
Yeah.
even have a lot of ships that have access, like proper access to load their cargo bays. You take an example like the Carrack. To properly load the Carrack's cargo containers, you really need the side opening hatches, because while those hatches are there, they're not openable in game yet, and we're not going to be able to manually load that ship.
That's a really good point.
So I think, to your
And
point,
even
that's what we'll get, is some sort of timer-based system at first.
yeah, but I think that timer-based system will exist. That's just my speculation. I think it will exist for in the indie game as well. And I can also speculate that getting a cargo to load a Hull E could be quite expensive and
Right.
impractical at sometimes. And I could imagine quite easily that they have special missions where you haul someone else's cargo. You have some rep with some sort of organization that needs cargo moved, and you take a mission, and suddenly your Hull E loads up with their cargo, and off you go. So uh, lots of unknowns here. Perhaps CIG don't even know some of the minor details, or the finer details yet. But it
Yeah.
looks exciting because cargo hauling is a really fun uh, a really fun narrative for a lot of us that we look forward to.
Yeah. I mean, again, there's sort of two types of, quote unquote cargo hauling. There is the, throwing a few boxes in your ship, commodities, or even just like box delivery missions. And then there's a whole nother level when you're talking about, we're seeing a hull E here, which can, that's currently the video that's currently playing, which holds 98,000 SCU. But even in bringing it down to something, um, hull C level at 4,600 SCU, or even Banu Merchantman level, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, Chad, is that 2,800 SCU, something around
That's
there?
right.
Yeah, that's a lot of cargo, and that's going to be if this does revert to a method where it's like, hey, you can load this manually for free, you and a buddy, um, or you can pay X amount of dollars to load your ship, which is something we don't deal with right now. When we go to a kiosk and load up our ships with cargo, we're not paying a loading fee, but you can bet with the cargo refactor gameplay that comes on board, we're going to now be paying a loading fee for that timer to tick down. And what I guarantee will happen is you'll be able to set, when you do load it, you'll be able to set what skill level or how many NPCs or whatever is doing it, whatever that, number factor is. And you can pay more to get it loaded faster or pay less to get it loaded
Yeah.
slower.
Yeah.
That's my
You know
thinking
what?
there.
I do think historically CIG haven't been very good at running the temporary economy, right? And they haven't
Yeah.
been very good at setting the prices um, so that your time playing the game is effective. I can see a scenario playing out where they release this cargo physicalization. The pirates get their gameplay that they've been dreaming of. They go nuts. They pirate every single hauler out there, and suddenly no one's hauling anymore because you lose all your money, you lose all your principal that's tied up in all that cargo.
Yeah.
So I can totally see the cargo refactor destroying cargo running in the short term.
And that's sort of my argument, is that it's going to be quite a shift for people, and I'm really eager to get that detail from CIG, because I do think it's going to be a monumental shift for something that a large bit of the player base wants to do, and that is cargo hauling. I think it has the same sort of effect that the whole death of a spaceman, medical, and all that has had on combat players, right? Or anything of that nature. So or the medical system, all that. So it's just another one of those systems that's come on board that's going to heavily affect what people do now. But at the same time, we're about to get a whole we're about to get a bunch of new growth in the cargo running, gameplay loops just with the cargo refactor alone. What's your thoughts? Either one of you want to make any predictions if the cargo refactor holds for 318? Think they'll be able to stick to that? I believe it's currently. I'm looking on the release view right now. They currently still have the cargo system refactor scheduled for 318. Description for that is, this refactor of ship cargo system will allow both found and purchased cargo to be picked up, moved around, and placed to the cargo grid of a ship.
You see, I believe that this new system implementation runs on what we used to think was iCache, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we were told that iCache is coming again and again. It never did. It got changed in name, and here we are still without it. I believe this is the first time that we're seeing it used in anger. There's a good chance it could slip, and I think we should probably just assume that and be pleasantly surprised if it doesn't. To be honest, but it's this year. Maybe it's quite likely that we'll get it at some stage.
Any predictions on which one is most likely for 318? Is it going to be salvage or cargo? I think that's the running bet. Which one of those is going to get delayed? Because it's pretty wild to think that both of those.
Well, I mean, I don't
Hitting.
quite get salvage. It's just lasers now. I don't quite understand the complexity. It's
I
just
know
mining.
it really is simple now.
I don't get it. Maybe it's just a priorities thing or a staffing thing. I don't get it.
Yeah. Cool. I mean, I do think, we'll be doing a full in-depth episode on the cargo refactor as we get more announcements from CIG. I think, chat can maybe correct me. I think possibly next week is when we start getting Inside Star Citizen again, maybe?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So we might start, I would imagine we're going to start hearing about 317 features sooner rather than later. And I think one of the first things we're going to hear about are things like the persistent hangars, ship-to-ship refueling, and selling items to shops. I think those are going to be some of the key things right out the gate. So we will get to that. Real quick, because of time, everyone, I think what we're going to do is we're going to save our capital ship catch-up for next episode. That way I can pull some more questions. Capital ship gameplay is something we got a lot of feedback on. I had a lot of people reach out to me personally through DMs with additional questions and thoughts on it. So maybe a capital ship, Mark II episode would be good. Specifically, I know a lot of people had questions and thoughts about what multi-crew will and should be like on a capital ship. And I could see us going a little bit more in depth on that in terms of crew roles, what it takes to run these ships, what it should take to run these ships, and maybe talk about, crew minimums, crew maximums, and stuff. I think that lends itself to another full episode. So what we'll probably do is a capital ship part 2 episode in the short run. Episode. We're going to start calling them episodes from here on out. Ender, go ahead and mark that down.
Typing it now.
Okay, these are episodes running from here on out. It's been a long week, everyone. I've been extremely busy at work. You can probably see the fear and tiredness in my eyes. Last but not least, I think, let me look at my show notes here. Covered 317. We covered the monthly report. We talked about when we'll get back to the capital ship catch up. We interviewed Drizztaloth. It was amazing to have her on. That was awesome. We highlighted our good friend and great Starjump collaborator VMXEO. So that was really cool. We got to see a little bit of a fleet viewer update with the freelancer Banu ships coming online. And last but not least, before we headed out, I did want to talk a little bit about something I had planned on showing off earlier I think yesterday maybe, or the day before. Those of you that are in our Discord probably saw this pop up. It is a new Starjump show that is coming online called Starjump Skunkworks, and I know there was a couple people in our Discord that guessed what the show was correctly. What this is going to be is a show where we'll probably stream it maybe once every 2 weeks or once or something like that. But it's essentially going to be a show where I go into 3D. We'll take suggestions from chat, maybe kit bashing or theoretical ships, questions like what if you ripped the deck off a Kraken and attached it to an Endeavor as a different sort of landing pad scenario? What if you took a Star Runner and turned it into a heavy bomber? Any of those sort of questions in real time, right on the show, we're going to kit bash and come up with something really cool. And at the end of the episode, we'll render a high-res still, and then that will be sent out via the Discord, and those of you that were watching the show can then leave the show with that high-res wallpaper. So essentially that's what it will be. I thought that was when I've done that at the end of some of my behind-the-scenes Fleet Viewer episodes, and people really, really like them, and I've had a lot of requests come in through private messaging to do more of that. I think the last one we did on one of the behind the scenes was we built, I think it was Mikkel's Drake Leviathan concept he had, which was ripping the decks off the Kraken and replacing it with about 15 to 18 size 8 turrets. Starlet's favorite ship, obviously, but it was a lot of fun.
I have a request.
Sure.
Can we do a javelin? Can we do a javelin that has dual size 10 railguns top and bottom on the STS turrets?
See, right here, we've already got our first Starjump Skunkworks episode
Yes.
lined up.
Yes.
So we will get to work on that. Um, not a problem. I will probably debut that sometime next week, and we'll have, so that we can kind of get the conversation started, we'll have the Javelin as our first episode, and we will do a really cool dual size 10 rail guns mounted top and bottom, and maybe we'll use the Starlet Javelin from our opening animation as
Woohoo!
our test bed.
Yes.
So that will be really cool. Ender, before we head off and before we raid a fellow Star Citizen community person, did you want to say anything else in regards to charity stuff? Remind the people watching?
Yeah. Just a reminder, guys. We are trying to get ideas together for our next big charity push. It will be for St. Jude's Children's Hospitals. Something near and dear to, I think, all of our hearts for obvious reasons, but something that I've been pushing for ever since I worked in the hospital system and saw these kids firsthand and the absolute strength that they can and will show, and the dark humor that some of them have. But it will be our next push. I would like to do a large stream of some sort. But if you have any ideas, join our Discord. You can join that here. There we go. I'm always raising money for St. Jude, so this is kind of nothing that's going to change for us. We're going to continue trying to raise money for them. But join our Discord, look for Guardians, and give us your ideas. If you don't want to be a part of Guardians, that's absolutely wonderful. That's fine. But if you have ideas, give us the ideas. I absolutely love to see the thoughts that you guys have. So
Yeah. Cool.
And go check out Drizztaloth.
Yeah. Well, once again, everyone, thank you for hanging out with us. I know this was a little bit of a casual, low-key episode, but not, that's not always a bad thing. We get to hang out and chit-chat. I think starting next week, probably as Star Citizen and CIG start getting back into regular news updates, and we start learning about what 2022 has in store for us. I think we'll start seeing some big topics of discussion once again. As we all know, CIG holds its kind of annual beginning of the year meetings where they sort of determine what the plan for the year is. So I think, in short order, we're going to find out what 319 and 320, or maybe one of those is called 4.0, but we're going to find out what those are. So we're going into a new year. Very, very exciting. Thank you all for hanging out with us. Thank you all for being, part of the Starjump thing. Once again, do not forget to follow the channel. I know I've said that a few times. Don't forget to follow the channel. That gets you automatically entered into the Elgato Stream Deck giveaway. All you have to do is to follow the channel, and we're going to give that out at the end of this month. We'll be doing another one of these giveaways on Ender's channel. So if you like what we do, like our content, just follow that. And again, big shout out to my fellow co-hosts and all the stuff they do for Starjump, Ender with his countless managing of the Starjump Discord and community side of things. He's got a lot of Ender's kind of initiating a big push for Starjump Chronicles, which is something we've kind of had on a low simmer in the background. It's being worked on, but it's slow because we're sort of figuring it out. But we've got some renewed push on that. And our goal is to really sort of maybe get something out in March, I believe. Is that correct, Ender? For Chronicles?
Yes, March is the hope,
Okay.
which means a few more shots, voices,
editing. Yeah, so we got some work to do, but rest assured it's being worked on. And then also our lovely Starlet, who is kicking ass with Hanger.link. Such an amazing website. She hangs out here with us on this show, and in my opinion, helps keep me and Ender grounded in reality.
Absolutely.
So that we don't go too far off the rails or get into some horrible argument on camera, which as brothers do, sometimes it can happen.
It can.
And then, of course, Starlet doing her amazing back-end work that she has already sort of done for Fleet Viewer in a test scenario, and will then start taking ships as I deliver them very soon and start building out the Fleet Viewer. Big thanks to her, because again, while the Fleet Viewer was something I wanted to do, and I had the visual, or the ability to execute that on a visual level with the help of people like VMXEO, it wasn't really a reality until Starlet stepped up and said, "Hey, I have an idea for how to program this and get the back end running," and that's when it became an actual Fleet Viewer project. So everyone, big salute to my fellow co-hosts Ender and Starlet, who are core Starjump members, and I could not thank them enough for doing this with me. That's going to be about it. I think we're going to raid somebody. Ender, do you want to send us off?
I do. Guys, we're going to go spend the rest of the evening with just a wonderful human being.
Verity.
We're going to hang out with Verity for a while. It was a difficult choice between her and one other person, but I think I made the right one. Grim will understand that
Yes.
better than anybody.
Yes.
You guys
Yes.
have a wonderful night. Do something kind for a random stranger. And thanks for all the support you guys give us, because without y'all, I don't think we would all be here.
Yes.
So,
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. See you
Thanks,
next
everyone.
week. All right. Bye.
Bye.